I have heard it said that there isn't much to see in the outback. Just sand, dust, flies, empty space. Far, remote, hard to get to. Long hours in the car, and really, why bother? We've lived in Australia nearly all our lives, but we've never really been. Then the kids came along, and you'd think that would make it even more inaccessible. But we like being adventurous. We like pushing the envelope a bit. Perhaps there's more to see out there than at first meets the eye. Let's head back to Mum. We'd have to cook dinner now, don't we? Ah, beautiful. Just beautiful. Before every expedition, there is a packing and preparing phase. We've gotten pretty good at it over the years. A typical pack would take half a day and a trip to the shops for food and other provisions. An expedition as large as this one, however, needs some extra attention. Water and fuel reserves, extra electronic devices such as the drone and sat phone all need a place, and all of that needs to fit within the maximum allowable weight of our Jeep. What are we doing today, Alex?
We're packing the car.
Yeah, packing for a big holiday. Probably the biggest holiday we've ever done.
And the longest.
The longest. How long are we going to go for, Alex?
For the whole school holidays, which is 14 days.
Yeah, so we're going for 2 weeks. And we're going to drive a couple of thousand kilometres, or 3,500, almost 4,000 kilometres. But we've got a bit of packing to do. As you can see, the car's already half packed. We've got the roof rack sorted, I've got some of the electronics sorted. We've got a drone on this trip as well. We're a bit anxious because we're going a very long distance. So tomorrow we've got 6.5 hours driving to Kunalpen. And then another 7 hours driving over to Woomera.
Yeah, so I just got out. I got my suitcase. My sister and I put stuff in it. Yeah, so basically we're going to about 7 or 8 hotels, I think. And we're camping for 3 nights. We have so much things on the car already. Our weight is getting a bit too
We actually
heavy.
have to go and weigh the car. We're actually going to go weigh the car after we've set it all up. We're going to pick up Hannah.
And hopefully it isn't too heavy.
We need to come in under 3 tons. Okay, so 3 tons is what's called our GVM. Do you know what GVM stands for? Gross vehicle mass. So that's the maximum weight the car can be according to its specifications. So here's the docket. We've just come off the weighbridge. Mass, TM mass, 2.88 tons. So I predicted, what did I predict, Alex? 2,884?
Yeah.
That's exactly what I got, 288. So we're actually cooking on this trip. So we need the table and the stove. In one of the places you can't actually have campfires.
Which is called Lake Eyre.
Lake Eyre, that's right, not allowed fires. But this is kind of interesting as well. This is where we have our water. It's approximately
20 litres.
It's 20, although in reality it's about 18.5. So this is what we usually take with us. Now, this is a bit of a longer trip, but we are going between hotels.
I have a
actually worked
question.
out we also have a tank underneath the car, but we're not going to fill it today. I think I worked out that I could put about 85 litres of water into this car, but then you get up against GVM issues. So there are weight challenges to that. So this is what we've got. We've got some corn chips because we're going to make nachos. There's a random torch in there, some pancakes, kettles, utensils, chopping board. That's essentially all the little items for our camping. Okay, we're going to fit these sleeping bags that we use. We've got 2 lighter ones and we've got 2 heavier ones. The heavier ones are really quite warm. They can go down to like 0 degrees or thereabouts. That should be pretty comfortable. The little ones, they're not bad too. They're more like for plus 10. Now, the fridge has been working for about 15 minutes. Let's have a look at how the battery's faring. This is a new lithium battery. 79. Yep, okay. So 80%, that's not too bad. Now let's have a look at the temperature inside the fridge. 4 degrees, okay, yep. So it's kind of gotten to temperature now. Alright, so maybe to walk you through the micro packing of some of the smaller items in the car. So here we've got a paper map. In case all the technology fails, you really got to have one of those. We keep that up in the glove box. Moving on from the glove box, we have the center console. And the interesting thing about the center console is that in there's a few chargers. So we've got a charger for Alice's phone there, and we've got a charger for the drone batteries.
Daddy's.
So
This is Daddy's phone charger.
Yep, that's my phone charger. So it's a wireless phone charger, which is quite good. So we actually have a new setup in here with 3 USB ports. They're not particularly high current, but they're there.
This is the sat phone.
Yeah, we've got the sat phone, GoPro batteries, and we've got a light for our tent. And they constantly stay in there and they charge. And the thing that I really like about that is after it's all sort of closed up neatly, what you find is that there are no sort of cables or loose stuff in the car. It looks really neat, and you'd never know that you can charge 7 USB devices through there. Under here we have our drone. It's nicely tucked away in there. So it's nice and secure, and there's nothing else around it, so that'll stay there. It's an easy access, but it's out of the way. We have heaps of things under the back seat. I'm barely even going to show you that, but we've got the pump, so an air compressor down there for our tyre pressures. We've got recovery equipment, we've got a jack, we've got gloves. There's a recovery strap under the driver's seat. Now in this car that you can fit a lot under the rear seats, so we are using that to full advantage. The beauty of that is of course that it's out of the way, but it's very accessible, so I can open the doors and get to it really quickly, even though it's really not in anybody's way. Up on the roof rack we've got the Max Tracks spare jerry. Now we're actually not going to fill the jerry for now, we're going to take it with us empty, and if we need to we'll fill it up before we depart for the more remote parts of our trip. So that's basically the packing of the car, sort of the small electronics inside, nooks and crannies inside, a lot of stuff under the seats, because that's very accessible but out of the way. On the roof we've got a stretcher, a tent, a sleeping mat, 2 chairs for the adults, the awning on the side obviously, we've got the spare jerry can and the roof box. In it we've got a sleeping bag, a first aid kit, 2 kids chairs and a recovery blanket. Alright, so after a little bit of reorganising, I managed to do it. I'm actually quite happy with it. So this place hasn't really changed. That's the 20-litre jerry right there of water, right, with a bit of a cushion stuck behind it. Cushions are really good at padding out the space. At the bottom, with this crate, we're really maxed out on width. There's no room there at all. That's actually wedged right in, which is great, so it doesn't move side to side, right? But then on top, we've got more space. So I've just offset the suitcase just a little bit. I mean, the fridge still opens, no worries. No issue at all there. It gives you good access to the fridge, but on this side we've made enough room for the 10-litre jerry.
Our first stop is the outback town of Woomera, a real secret military base from the 1950s. It launched rockets into space, developed advanced guided weaponry, and even tested nuclear weapons. It was only partially open to the public in the 1980s. The base outside of town is still active and continues operations to this day. TripAdvisor has the following. Woomera isn't the nicest of places to visit. It's dry, dusty, with not much going for it. But the museum is a bit of fun. Well, we'll judge that for ourselves when we get there. However, it's a 2-day, 1,200 kilometre drive, and we will first make a stopover at a random halfway point called Kunalton.
So we've just passed Dadswell's Bridge, which is a well-known kind of milestone on the way to Hollow Mountain from Halls Gap. And so usually this would be the end of the drive for the day. I mean, we're at Hollow Mountain, we're very much in the Grampians, but we're still about half an hour away from lunch, and then we've got another 3 hours drive after that. So it's a much longer driving holiday than usual, but I find that it all depends on what your expectations are. So because we knew it was a very long drive, like it's fine. Whereas usually by this stage, 3.5 hours behind the wheel, you'd be a bit tired. But because we expect it to be about 6.5 hours tonight, I think it's not too bad. But we'll see how it feels by the end of the day.
Hello, we're going to a camping trip.
this is a very long train too. This is
With shipping club.
yeah, it might have grain in it. This is grain country. So all those silos, Alex, they would have like wheat and some other grain that would go into these containers, maybe. And they transport it to the ports and the docks and
Wow, still
all over the place. That is a long train. So we're driving up on Canalpen. We've got about 30 minutes to go. Kids are getting a bit restless. It's been, 6 hours in the car. It's about to be 6.5. But it's also starting to get a bit dark, so not too bad. And then we're going to go for some dinner. Hannah's getting a little cubby built, and Alex, there's a little
I need to get in.
storage place that has like blankets normally, and so they're making a cubby out of it. Tell us about your day. How was it?
Birdie. I get to hug the birdie.
You got to hold the birdie.
Yeah.
Go.
Good job! Well done!
Blue.
Good job!
And what colour was he? Did you like
in
him?
Bluey, the budgie died.
Oh, like in Bluey, the budgie that died. But this one didn't die.
This one was still alive.
This one was still alive. Okay, that was pretty fun. All right, I think Alex is just about ready to go to bed.
Canalpen is really only famous for one thing, the Canalpen silo. It's a giant grain silo decorated with a painted image. There are quite a few of these silos in this part of the country, and they always seem to attract a bit of a crowd.
Hi, so basically, we just got to the Canalpen silos back there, and we're right now admiring the pictures on them.
What do you think of the pictures?
Good. Are they spray painted?
I don't know how they did it, to be honest. But we'll see quite a few of these silos on the way back with these big pictures on them, but we might have a bit of a... In Mildura, yeah. We might have a bit of a walk around it and have a look. So we've left Canalpen Hotel for... This is the beginning of what will be the longest drive I have ever done in one day. So it was supposed to be just under 7 hours, but we're going to take a bit of a detour to Port Pirie for lunch. I found a good spot for lunch at Port Pirie, I think it's by the bay. And then on to the final stretch to Woomera. And we're going to start to see the place turn a bit more deserty this afternoon, I think, as we head north from Port Augusta. So it should be a good day.
Unfortunately, it's raining, so we have to look out on Pink Lake apparently, from afar.
So there's a little bit of a break in the rain, about 10 minutes. We thought we'd get out quickly and try to go and have a look at this Pink Lake. Of course, without sunshine, it doesn't look that pink, but you can see how it looks pretty pink, and there's that little sea monster over there. We're just gonna have a bit of a stretch. It's just less than an hour to Port Pirie for lunch. 2, 3.
We jump through the front.
way around. So the pub kitchen closes at 2:30. We were here at 3. Oh, 10 past 3. So, Macca's it is. You guys like Macca's?
Yeah.
You wanted to go to Macca's anyway instead of the pub, didn't you? This is Port Pirie and the big silos on this side, and there's a railway track and a port, I think, on the other side. We're actually debating what's in them. Usually around this region you'd have grain in silos, but this is apparently a heavy industry location, as we've read. The world's largest lead smelters. Can you imagine that? The world's largest in Port Pirie. We pass Port Augusta as the sun is setting below the horizon, giving us a first glimpse at the colours of an outback sunset. A big road sign reads, "Welcome to the Outback," as the cars on the road seem to disappear and we are almost alone driving into the rapidly descending darkness. There's something special about this place. This is what we came to see, and so far, it's pretty cool. There's one main hotel in town, the Eldo Hotel, named after the European Launcher Development Organisation. Each wing is named after a famous rocket launched at Woomera. We are staying in the Redstone wing. The restaurant is full of historical photos and memorabilia, like this ground track chart. This is as close as Australia gets to NASA.
Hello. Hey, do you want to try my burger? No thanks. Hey, have as much as chips as you want. But still leave some for me, okay? Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Most Australians know nothing about Woomera's amazing story at the centre of the space race in the 50s and 60s.
30 seconds.
From 1957, Woomera became a global focal point for space activity. At its height, it had the second highest number of rocket launches in the world, after NASA's facilities at Cape Canaveral.
20 seconds.
At approximately the size of England, it remains to this day the largest land-based test range in the Western world,
10.
and the only such range capable of testing the next, or what is now termed the 5th, generation of weapon systems.
AM, missile fired at Woomera, the Australian guided weapon range.
Traveling in a fried-out combi on a hippie trailhead full of zombies.
There are so many stories to discover here. The whole place is steeped in living history. Our plan today is to check out the rocket park and the museum. But first we're off to the Outback Diner for breakfast.
Hi everyone, so we just came here for breakfast. Me and Hannah had a ham, cheese, tomato, toasty. What did you have, Dad?
Bacon and egg roll.
What did Mummy have? Yeah.
Buying bread from a man in Brussels. He was 6'4", full of muscle. I said, "Do you speak my language, brother?" He just smiled.
There are many examples of Woomera's pioneering achievements. In 1967, Australia became only the 4th nation behind Russia, USA and France to design and launch a satellite into orbit. The RESAT observation satellite was launched using an American Redstone rocket and completed 642 orbits of the Earth. The remains of the actual rocket that launched it are on display, recovered from the Simpson Desert. Another impressive Aussie invention was the Jindavic target drone, Appropriately named after an Aboriginal word meaning the hunted one, it was one of the first remotely operated aerial vehicles used for target practice. It was piloted remotely by a team of 4 and took off from a trolley. It was in operation as recently as the late 1990s. Woomera is unique because its history is secretive but meticulously recorded on film. It feels old, yet recent and relevant. Photos from the 1950s sit right next to those of the late 2000s. These events have taken place within our lifetimes, and for anyone who fancies themselves a history, rocketry, or military enthusiast, there's certainly plenty to see. Just like in the olden days, there are still recreation facilities, nice meals and warm beds. I'd say that's reason enough for a visit.
Living in the land down under, where women glow and men plunder. Can't you hear the thunder? You better run, yeah, better take cover.
To Coober Pedy, and we are stuck. We've been stuck all morning behind these caravanners that are going much slower than the speed limit. This particular one's towing a vehicle. Show everyone. Look at that. They're actually towing a small car behind the large caravan, I guess for small day trip expeditions. And you'd think you'd get bored driving on these roads, but you don't, because every 5 to 10 minutes you've got to do an overtake of these caravans, which keeps you on your toes.
Our next stop is another 400 kilometres or 4 hours north along the Stewart Highway. The small town of Coober Pedy is principally famous for opal mining, today producing 90% of the world's supply. 90% from this one small town in the middle of nowhere. In 1999, it was estimated that there were 250,000 mine entrances in the immediate area. Probably a lot more now. The other items of interest in town are the underground dwellings, churches and hotels known as dugouts. We're staying in one for our accommodation. Summer temperatures here can exceed 40 degrees, and underground buildings hold their temperature year round. It's like something out of a sci-fi movie, where the surface is uninhabitable. Perhaps this is also the reason why so many films have been shot here.
This is the ship from Pitch Black, the Vin Diesel film. It's actually a very good movie. Wow. Pretty good movie. So we're actually going up to this lookout up here. There's a few underground opal shops and what have you, and some accommodation, but we're staying in a different spot. We'll just come into town late afternoon. So this place is called Opal Cave. We're going to jump in and have a bit of a look at it in a minute. Arts and crafts and opals and what have you. Bit of a tourist trap, but that's okay. And then tomorrow we've got 2 main activities. We've got the Old Timers Mine, so we're going to go and have a look at the mine. And then in the evening, we're going to go to the Breakaways, which is a bit of a drive. So this is one of these blowers that they keep talking about. The way it works is basically there's a big motor here, right? So it's an engine, and the engine turns a big fan, and that is like a big vacuum cleaner, okay? And that vacuum cleaner creates suction that goes up through this pipe towards the big hopper at the top. And then second pipe down here is what goes down into the mine. And as it goes down into the mine, all of the dirt and rock and dust and all the stuff they want to extract out of the mine comes up through this pipe. So this is sort of like a big vacuum cleaner for the opal mines, effectively. And it was invented here, specifically in Coober Pedy, to help them mine for opal. Pretty resourceful.
Next morning, after breakfast with the locals, it's off to the old timers mine. While Coober Pedy is full of similar mines, what we like about this one is the self-guided tour, allowing us to go at our own pace. This place is an actual disused historic mine, with streaks of opals still left for display in the walls. But what's fascinating are the exhibits devoted to telling the story of Coober Pedy. On display are tools and implements used 100 years ago, newspaper clippings dating back to the 1920s, and 2 historic dugout houses, fitted out exactly as they were in the 20s and 70s. You could easily spend half a day here looking through the memorabilia and interpretive displays. Right in the mine. It's like living in your workplace. Where are we, Bub?
I'm in a cave.
You're in a mine.
I want to call it a cave.
You want to call it a cave? Alright, let's go find Mummy and Alex. Let's go.
I hear their voice.
Yep. That's a windsock. They use that to bring air into the mine, I think. Yeah, it goes all the way to the surface and the wind blows into it and then it gets fresh air down into it. Do you want to tell everyone what this is?
This is how they climb up. So they put their feet from here to there, to there, to there, to there.
Cool. So Hannah, look, these auger and hand brace, these were used for drilling shot holes for explosives. See these?
Yeah.
These are like little drills, olden day drills, but were rarely used in the early days as explosives were hard to come by and when available were too expensive.
I see a white thing.
So this is a bathroom in the original dugout at the old timers mine, right? So this is a bedroom. They even have a little plant there. Maybe that had a little shaft to the surface so it got some light. And then from there, there's a kitchen. There's the kitchen. Pretty cool, huh? I think this is another bedroom. This is
So this is the first
bedroom. This is for the daughters, I think. They extended their dugout and then actually, I think, broke through into the mine over here. The only underground post office in the world. There's another reason, though, we chose this place over others. Back up on the surface there are noodling pits, where kids can sift through rock to look for their own opals, and our 2 new gemologists are keen to try their hand. Show me. Show it to the camera. How do you know it's an opal?
I think it is. Daddy, look what I found.
We leave the mine with a few Ziploc bags full of rocks with opal traces. We later learned that there are adult noodling pits on the outskirts of town where you stand a fair chance of finding an actual opal. So of course we have to try those too. So I thought I'd do a bit of a walkthrough of our accommodation because I think it's quite unique. So you can see here there's a bit of a shed type structure and then there's a big cliff in behind it. I'll show you that in a minute. But another good way to look at it is what's right next to it. So they've kind of put some nice palms here and shrubs to kind of, make it look really nice. But beyond that, you can see here, this is the cliff wall, right? And you can sort of come up here and have a bit of a look at it, but this is the sort of sandstone that comes from the inland sea that used to be here 100 million years ago or so. Well, the interesting thing is there could be opal anywhere through here. There's no logic, they say, to where you can find the opal. So sometimes it's within centimeters of where you are and somebody does an extension of their dugout or whatever and they find opal just like that after having searched for it for years elsewhere. So it's quite possible there's opal in this wall right here. This is our little area. It's quite pretty. There's lots of decorations. This is sort of like an outdoor area over here. You can see it's sort of open, right? Through here is a bit of a semi-indoor outdoor kitchen type thing. A couple of fridges in here. Kitchenette. Okay, and then through here, this is already the cliff face, right? So this is the cliff face, and in through here, as we walk in, this is the actual dugout. So in here it's always very warm, you've got good insulation because we're now in the cliff face.
Hello.
Hey Hannah. Okay. And then a couple of rooms. So there was a dugout extension into here. This is the kids' room. And then there's a bathroom through here.
And then over here is sort of the main bedroom. So they basically just dug into this cliff face, and this is all in this cliff face. It's quite unique and pretty cool. So we are currently off to the Breakaways National Park. We got a permit from the visitor centre. It's a 70-kilometre loop, and there are apparently some really nice views there. And also the dog fence, the longest fence in the world.
The Breakaways is a conservation park best seen around sunset for the awesome desert colours created by the setting sun. This is our first foray off the sealed comfort of the Stuart Highway and onto the red dirt of the outback. Even the drive across the plains in the late afternoon is made more dramatic by the accentuated colours of the sand, and even before the Breakaways come into view, the emptiness is stark but beautiful. Adjacent to the park is the famous dog fence, 5,600 kilometres long, built in the 1880s to keep dingoes out of the relatively fertile southeast part of the continent and protect sheep flock. It may not look like much here, but according to Wikipedia, it's been at least partly successful.
So this morning we are leaving Coober Pedy and we're off to Oodnadatta. It's about a 3.5 hour drive in total. We've got 2 hours to our next stop, which is Arkaringa Painted Desert. So there's going to be some good scenery there. Otherwise, we'll look forward to being in the Pink Roadhouse at Oodnadatta this evening.
If the Breakaways were just a taste of the remote outback, today we are in for something more substantial. Our track takes us back to the turnoff we took yesterday, after which we expect an end to sealed roads for the next 4 days. Phone reception also disappears, as even the mighty Telstra network succumbs to the vast landscape. In the next 4 days we will cover the Oodnadatta Track from Oodnadatta down to Marree, stopping at the remote Halligan Bay on Lake Eyre and an unexpected oasis at the Coward Springs Artesian Bore. The track follows the route of the old Ghan Railway, built at the turn of the 19th century. Though the old railway's steam engines have long been replaced by a more modern route made possible by diesel locomotives, the history of the old Ghan, along with the towns that sprung up to service it, still attracts a fair number of tourists. As we drive to join the Oodnadatta Track at Oodnadatta, we have a stop on the way. Arkaringa, or the Painted Desert, is a similar attraction to the Breakaways, and also on the list of must-see places in this part of the world.
So we've just taken the left turn off to Arkaringa Painted Desert, and it's only about half an hour away. There are some cows on the road here because, of course, not on the road, but on the side of the road, because, of course, this is a cattle station. These are some of the biggest stations in the world out here, and they're unfenced, and they're basically the entire country. The cows just walk wherever they want. And the interesting thing is we were just discussing, how do they know where their cows are? They must be somehow GPS'd, I'm guessing. So we thought we were going to make it to the Painted Desert before airing down. This is the Painted Desert Hills. It's only about 10 kilometres away.
down this road, but you can see here it's quite corrugated. And it's starting to annoy me. So what that means is we're going to air down now. So I'm thinking probably something like 25 to 30 psi.
Kids,
Hi.
how's your trip so far?
Good. Good. Hello.
This is the Painted Desert Hills, and they look pretty spectacular, and there is a bit of a walk here. I'm not sure exactly how long it goes, but we need a bit of a walk around. We're probably about an hour to an hour and a half from Oodnadatta, so we're making good time. So we thought we'd stop and give the kids a bit of a run. Lots of different colours, huh, Alex?
Yellow, white, orange, red, magenta, purplish, blue, black, white, and that's all the colours I can see.
There's a little tip up here that you can get to, but it feels a bit like the edge of the world. So I'm not going to get too close to it. I'm just going to stop there. And you can probably go around and explore all over these hills. There are people on that peak over there. It's quite spectacular. You don't get scenery like this back in Victoria. This is very much Central Australia type scenery, isn't it? The rocks are kind of cool as well, aren't they?
Yeah, I found a square one.
Yeah. It is kind of a cube sort of rock.
One, two, three, jump.
Founded in 1890, Oodnadatta served as the northern terminal of the Ghan until the railway was extended to Alice Springs in 1929. For almost 40 years it was the starting point for camel caravans laden with supplies for the remote communities of the desert interior. As the line was extended, the town declined, becoming just another station on the railway. Today, tourism is the main reason for the town's existence, and the Pink Roadhouse, where we are staying, has become a famous landmark. The old station building serves as a free entry museum showcasing the early history of the region, giving us a good reason to have a stroll through the streets and imagine what life was and still is like all the way out here.
Well, this was part of the old telegraph line, so
Very different to Melbourne.
the line between Adelaide and Darwin, right? So right up the middle of the country. We are now on the Oodnadatta Track. We've just turned onto it from Oodnadatta and we're on our way to Algebuckina Bridge, which is probably about an hour to an hour and a half away. And we're going to see this old historic bridge that the old Gan line ran through.
The old Gan runs through an area scarred by rivers and floodways as water makes its way to Australia's largest ephemeral salt lake, Lake Eyre, where we will be camping tonight. Almost every year of the Gan's operation, sections of the track would be washed away in floods, causing delays and derailments. While smaller rivers were bridged earlier, the Niels River was a different beast entirely. At nearly 600 metres across, it required one of South Australia's greatest engineering feats. Built entirely by hand with no heavy machinery, the bridge has stood the test of time, being one of the few bridges on the railway that was never breached by floodwaters. Today, while most of the old track has been ripped up, Algebuckina stands as a monument to the railway which formed the backbone of Central Australia. Alright Alex, off you go. Be careful.
When you're on that bridge underneath of it, like close to the middle and over the middle, it feels like it's wobbly and you're going to fall off.
Really impressive, really cool bridge. Longest bridge in South Australia. The way it was written, it sounded like it was the longest bridge even now in South Australia, or longest single span bridge. So there's probably some technical definition that makes it the longest of its type. But yeah, it was built like over 100 years ago, and 320 men were building it. Pretty, just impressive that they were able to do that without modern technology, modern machinery. It's a big, pretty solid sort of construction.
Lunch today is at William Creek, another iconic country pub on the Gan line. This one is famous for a different reason though. It's a fly-in pub with its own airstrip. It hosts both tour groups and private operators for accommodation, food and fuel. The main attraction though are flying tours of Lake Eyre. In these parts, cars just don't cut it. Travel needs to be by plane.
See some airplanes there at William Creek. And there's a plane actually about to take off, or either just landed. I can't quite tell. There he is. Look at him. I hope I don't need to give way to him, am I? I'm not crossing the airstrip, am I? Yeah, you can see there are the planes. I don't know. I'm not sure if it's an airstrip. It's a little precarious. A lot of planes around. Okay, just finished lunch at William Creek. And now we're off to Halligan Bay. So it's 7 kilometres down the Oodnadatta Track. Refilled our fuel, we've got full fuel. So something between 60 and 70 kilometres to Halligan Bay off the track. This is the track that we have the least confidence about. We don't know what state it's in.
Despite our reservations, for the most part the track turns out to be just fine. Well, as far as technical driving goes, it is extremely corrugated in places, the kind of corrugations that warrant you audibly apologising to your car. This is exactly the reason you don't exceed your maximum allowable weight. While I don't mind the isolation, Alice was concerned about being alone at the campsite. Her fears, however, are quickly allayed on arrival. There are a few groups spaced nicely apart, We find a great cul-de-sac to set up camp. It's a great spot, exactly the sort of camping experience you look for. I'm all set to make dinner, but first things first, Lake Eyre. We don't want to miss the sunset.
We are at the very edge of Lake Eyre. That's the water. That's the water over here. We've just walked out across the plain, across the flats. So Halligan Bay is just over there. Yes, Alex is very excited by the mud and he's doing his best to cover himself as much as possible from head to toe. That's the entrance over there. You can sort of see it in the distance, and we're parked over there just over the dunes, and we're camped over there. It's a nice campsite. Lots of people around. The track in was pretty corrugated, but otherwise uneventful. This is Belt Bay. I think at the moment I read it's at about 1 metre depth. They're saying that by end of July it should be 1 metre higher. So if you can imagine 1 metre higher water level, all of this will be underwater, right up to back there where we've come from. Pretty big lake, as far as you can see. That's what we came to see, and here it is.
I just ran back from the drone, which I think you can see there. Look at that sunset. Sunset is amazing. Hi, Mom. Hi. That is such a good sunset.
Get all the ingredients out, making a bit of a cook up tonight. A bit more than before actually, a bit more than usual. Okay, here we go. Some
Daddy, I don't need a jacket, I have a jumper on.
Okay, cutting up some onion on this new chopping board.
I don't like onion.
Very neat.
It's going to be cooked onion, not raw onion, Hannah. Okay, we'll be just
What are we
fine.
having for?
We're having for dinner some nachos, Hanban. Corn chips with yummy meat on them. Okay, here we go. Here's my onion. Oh, the iPhone has a nice flash. Okay, so here's my onion. Here's our cooking setup. It's going to go in here with some oil in a minute. Okay, here we go. Okay, so now we're going to try to turn on this burner. This is the point at which it better work, because without this burner,
We couldn't turn on the burner. Not the burner.
okay. So let's say that's kind of hot. I don't know, we'll find out in a minute. That's okay. Okay, in a minute, mate. And then we're going to go in with the onions, okay? So,
Why is every little thing we tell you is like, hang on a minute.
because we're busy doing something. Okay, onions, in they go.
Careful not to spill them.
Try. Just careful not to melt this. I think that's just the gas as it's
Alright, and with the magic of editing,
It's chill.
having perfected this technology, here's the nacho mix. That goes off the chips. Then we put a bit of avocado on top. Alright, Alex, what do you reckon?
Good.
Anna, what do you think? That took a little bit longer because we realised we had to shield the thing from the wind. It was a bit windy, but once we shielded it from the wind, it actually cooked much better. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Bit of a chilly morning, but crisp and sunny.
Hello.
Alex is in the car. We're making breakfast. We worked out a way to create a windbreak for the burner to make it burn quicker. And then I'm going to make some ham and cheese rolls here for breakfast. We actually have a bit of salsa and avocado left from last night. May as well put it on them as well. That'll be nice. So here's our little tent. It was a bit windy, a bit noisy, but otherwise uneventful. A little chilly in the morning, but still pretty good.
It's only a 2-hour drive today to a desert oasis known as Coward Springs. So why did the old GAN run where it did, and why is the new route different? Well, the answer is water. Steam engines need lots of it, and their range is accordingly limited. The old GAN ran between bores sunk into the ground around natural springs, providing access to the near limitless groundwater of the Great Artesian Basin. In its original form, Coward Springs flowed at approximately 20,000 litres per day. A bore sunk in 1886 yielded a massive 4.5 million litres per day. That's like 2 Olympic swimming pools per day. The bore was finally effectively capped some 100 years later in 1993. It now modestly supplies the natural spring and flows out into a wetland that supports bird and plant species that have made it their home.
So we just saw this random structure on the side of the Oodnadatta Track, and we thought it's just literally, the track is there. We're 20 minutes away from our next campsite. It's still early in the day, so we thought we'd just come up here and have a bit of an explore. The first thing we saw is this sort of dam. There's a water reservoir here, and this place is really green. I think this might be perhaps from or associated with the Coward Springs bores, the water that's been streaming out of the bores about, 20-25 kilometers up the road. It's quite a significant brick structure. Beresford. This might be Beresford Station. So it could have been a train station. I'll just double check on my map. But it's a substantial structure. I think from what I can tell, this is Beresford Station, which I have seen on maps and in descriptions around the place. So that would be the station building, quite a substantial building with nothing really around it. Coward Springs, guys. We're here. So there's actually a date farm through here, apparently. Coward Springs Coffee Date Van, open from 8 to 5 p.m. There it is, hun. Your scones would be over there. So we're about to go and have a look at the scones. Eugene, here we go. Reservations. Eugene. Bronan. Okay, so that tells you where to go. Check map at hut for camps. Okay, so we're in Brogan, I think, is the best I can tell. So this is the map. This is where you pay your fees.
Not camping, don't forget to pay.
Well, let's have a look at the map. So you are here. Look, spa site, larrikins, shower. They have a shower, hun. You should even try their shower tonight. We're in Brolga's Nook. Okay, so we need to take this map and work out where we're going. It's a nice little setup they've got here. And that's the scone tent over there. They grow dates here, so they should have interesting fresh dates. Let's have a bit of a look through here, because I also want to figure out where the spa is. So this is Coward Springs. We're just having a bit of a walk around here. These are all campsites.
Does it have lava rocks to keep it warm?
No, I think it just comes out of the ground at temperature. So this is to the museum and wetland walk. Let's have a look at this museum. It's a beautiful structure. If these walls could talk, each place has layers of stories, telling of different lives. Okay, so we've set up our camp. This is our little tent next to our car over here. Lots of people around. We're going to go and see the springs. We've got our swimming gear on. I don't know about Hannah. She looks normal. Oh, okay, Mum's gonna just dress her for it. I've got my swimming gear on as well. Swimming shorts, Crocs. Even Alice has decided that she might dip her feet into the spring. Mostly owing to the fact that there are showers that we've seen. Hot showers just over there. Right, in that building over there. They look quite nice. I would be quite surprised if there wasn't a massive queue at the moment.
Just don't jump in, there might be somebody.
We're not going to jump in. Yes, Alice was a bit traumatized. They went and looked at it before and there was a guy submerged in it. He just sort of like put his head under for 5 seconds, you know, just to take a dip. And that's exactly the time that Hannah and Alice happened to stumble upon him, like get into the, like look at the spa. And then he just like emerged from under the water. And so now she's like, oh, somebody could have jumped in on him.
Everyone's coming to the spot.
So this is the actual hot spring in here, but I might stop filming because there are people there and then we'll wait our turn. Okay, so this is the spring. Alex, it might be quite deep, so maybe I should go first. It's actually a really nice, yeah, we can go in the morning.
Hannah, you gotta wait for Daddy.
Sandy bottom. It's a sandy, oh, it's really nice, you guys.
Can you hold me?
I can hold you. Hey, it's actually like massaging your feet. There is like a really strong current underneath that's massaging your feet. It's beautiful. How's that, Alex?
Good.
It's warm. It's what? You okay? So Alex can just about stand. The bottom is very sandy, but here's the interesting thing, okay? Check this out, you guys. So it's got obviously the water coming through here, okay? And you're like, oh, that's the thing that feeds the boar. But look at the current here. So it's like a natural spa. There's no pumps. There's no power. There's no electricity here. It's literally just from the earth. It's coming out under so much pressure, and I can't show you the pressure underneath, but all my feet are being buffeted as well. So now we've got the whole family in here. What do you reckon?
Yeah.
Is this cool or what?
Yeah.
I mean, that was nice and warm there, but my lord, it is freezing out here, Jesus Christ. So of course, I asked Alice to bring 2 towels because I was going to change there. I didn't expect to have to walk from the hot springs to the shower, which is like 200 meters, and it's beautiful though. Look at it. The kids both have towels on. Alice has already changed over her. Alex, how are you? Oh, that smells good though. Somebody's cooking a nice barbecue. Can you smell that?
Yeah, but I'm cold.
Me too.
Can I just go next to the barbecue?
Can I just jump right on the barbecue? Is this not amazing or what? There's a wood fire heater. So they literally have the fire going. And this is the shower block. Is this the most amazing?
Are we campers?
Yes, Outback shower block that you've ever seen.
Only.
I love that. The fire's going and you can have a hot shower because of a wood fire. Is that not incredible? We've woken up at Coward Springs to watch the sunrise. This is the sunrise. Sun's just come up. It was supposed to be about 9 degrees this morning, right? And then I looked in the car as I came to start it to top up the battery, and the car said 1 degree outside. So it was literally just a smidge above freezing. And I was like, yeah, that felt colder than I expected.
Yeah, I had a good sleep, except for like when I woke up. when I woke up, my body was like all fidgeting around. Like every 1 minute I had to move a different way.
I might actually show you around this place a little bit. So this Coward Springs is a date plantation. And these, as I understand, would be all of the date palms. It's actually very pretty here. Sunrises and sunsets are quite spectacular, but it's cold. It is pretty fresh this morning. We've got quite a big day today. We've got a few things to see on our way down to Farina for our last night of semi-camping. We might be in the shearer's quarters, which is a bit like a shed with some beds in it, so we may not need to set up the tent again.
The Coward Springs bore is not the only natural spring in the area. A short drive away are two other natural springs left very much in their original state. We are driving down to these this morning to find out more about the Great Artesian Basin. What is it exactly? The Great Artesian Basin is the largest groundwater basin in the world, with an area covering 1/5 of the Australian continent and an estimated volume of 65 billion megalitres, enough to cover all dry land on the planet in 1/2 metre of fresh water. Rainwater falls on so-called recharge areas up north, raises the water table and pushes water at lower elevations further south, up through these springs. Why does the road travel this way? Well, it travels this way because of the springs. So you can see where we're on the Oodnadatta Track here, right? These are where all, I think the dot means the springs, yeah. So you can see there are springs all along here, and that's why the road goes that way. Pretty interesting. Fresh sort of water, although it's probably... Whoa, guys, come check it out. It just started bubbling a lot more. It's like in those movies before the volcano erupts. Is that what you're thinking?
Yes.
Like seriously, it just went boom and there was like this wave of sand. I caught it on video.
Well,
There was like...
That it used to be it used to bubble 1/2 metre high.
Ah. Good to the right. Yeah, good to the right. You can stay in the middle of the road here because there's hardly anyone around. Then left and then straighten up. Today, our lunch spot is at Marree, the junction between the Oodnadatta Track and the equally famous Birdsville Track, leading to the eastern edge of the Simpson Desert. Thus, Marree marks the official end of our time on the Oodnadatta Track. Before we leave the Oodnadatta Track, however, there's one more stop, the Marree Sculpture Park. May this gateway stand to the realization of humanity's triumph over its own ignorance. That's lofty. What does it say? Rust in peace. Okay, yep. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's right. This is Marree. This is the famous, well, I don't know how famous it is, but you see it in all of the pictures of Marree. The train. Everything here is made out of rails. Like any historic building, all the iron work, like the beams and supports, are all made out of rails. Because that's what they had. Farina was once a bustling settlement of 600 permanent residents. The town eventually met the same fate as many others on the old Ghan. This one, though, is making a comeback. The Farina Restoration Group is a volunteer organisation devoted to preserving and restoring the town to its former glory. Every year between May and July, large groups of carpenters, masonry specialists, bakers, farmers, and people from all other walks of life descend on the old town to conduct restoration works. Over the years, they've rebuilt and restarted the bakery, stabilised and preserved ruins, and restored the local war memorial. While volunteers typically camp in the town also doubles as a sheep farm, providing shearers' quarters accommodation in the off-season. We've booked this to try something different, and our first challenge is to find a way to check in. So this is kind of interesting, right? So we met this guy who owns the property, and he basically said, follow me, and we followed him. And we've arrived over here. We've got this place to ourselves. This is where actual shearers stay when they have shearers here, I guess when it's the season for sheep to be sheared. And it's this sort of, they're not quite shipping containers, but they're real little demountables. And there's a series of them here. And basically we've got the whole place to ourselves for the night. And basically there are a set of different rooms. So we've got a triplet here, 1, 2, 3. And then there's this triple, which I think is the one that we'll end up staying in. Alice might share with Hannah, and then Alex and I might have 2 other beds. Unfortunately, there's no room with 4 beds. We can use any of these, but we want to stay in one room. And then this is kind of the main kitchen area. There's an outdoor barbecue area over here, and there's a kitchen area in here, okay? The nice classic looking kettle. So there's a toilet through there, and then this is sort of the kitchen area. Some kitchen cooking utensils, couple of fridges. There's a TV in here. There's a stove, there's a gas canister that he's opened up so we can actually cook some of our food in here if it's cold. Now this is kind of interesting. If we want to shower tonight, this is the shower block. I'll show you the shower block first. Be interesting if Alice wants to have a shower here. I'm sort of 50-50, but I'm kind of curious. Okay, so this is a shower block and a toilet block. So there's a couple of toilets in here and sinks, so I guess the shearers can just kind of wash up. And then there's the shower block, okay? So the shower's in here. And that's what it looks like. It's pretty interesting. It's also quite unique, a bit different than the other few places that we've stayed. And kind of an experience on its own. We don't have anyone else staying here today, just us. So it's pretty interesting to explore around. This is Farina Township. It was proclaimed a town in 1878, originally called Government Gums. Farina was the trailhead from Port Augusta when the line was extended first to Marree and then to Alice Springs. This is the underground bakery. So we were just reading that it was built possibly for convenience or insulation. It was built lower down. They dug it into the ground so that only about 1/3 of it was sitting above ground level. And that, they're saying, is possibly one of the reasons why it remained in working order to this day, because I think windstorms and sandstorms didn't affect it as much as it affected, say, that building over there, which is now, like many buildings here, in disrepair, being restored. So because it was dug into the ground, apparently it survived and has, after some restoration work, been put to good use again.
We can't burn it flat out when we've got product in there, otherwise it'll scorch it. So basically, if you open up, you can see what's left of the fire. If you look through, actually, if you look through here, you can see the tunnel goes right there.
Yeah.
And it comes around the back of the wall into the oven and over the top.
Yeah.
So that's the firebox. And then here is where the real work comes. That's the guy from Eyre.
Do you see the bread guys?
Come right around. One hand up there, that hand right back here. Okay, now that.
Okay. Alex, look at me as well, Alex.
Wow,
Beauty.
it's amazing. Oh look, so it did a bunch of different things. It was the Transcontinental Hotel up until 1928, then a bush nursing hospital, 1945, and a boarding house to 1955. Well, this isn't exactly Incan architecture, hence it's not as long lasting. They're restoring it, see? They're restoring this fireplace. They're putting concrete. You can see where they've put concrete into the cracks to stop it from cracking further and to make it last longer. We've come upon this little machine over here, which I think is used for tilling, and we're just talking about who we think pulls it. It's obviously pulled by something, but whether it's some sort of steam engine or horses or something. Maybe it's a grader. Maybe this is like for grading roads, hun. For creating roads. So there are literally 1, 2, 3, 4, there are 6 steering wheels. So the guy standing on here, steering this thing, plus he's got this little handbrakey doohickey type thing. I mean, like, seriously, do they have enough wheels?
Having finished the Oodnadatta Track, we set our sights for home. On our way though, we have one more major stop. For the next 3 nights, we will be staying in the heart of the largest mountain range in South Australia, the Flinders Ranges. We struggled with the itinerary for this part. It's beautiful in pictures, right? And has great reviews, but most material seems to promote flying tours, glamping, expensive accommodation and fine dining. Still, we were determined to try and find the path less travelled. Well, for everything but accommodation, that is. There isn't much choice outside Wilpena Pound, the centre of tourism in the area.
I'll count to 10. No. Fine. Stop. I'll close my eyes.
This is the IGA and cafe, sort of like a centre, I guess. Visitor centre and otherwise, so we're going to have a quick look around here. We're at Wilpena Pound, we're at the restaurant here at the resort. We've just ordered some food and we got a drink. You're holding hands, good job. Do you want to tell everyone something?
Breakfast.
Breakfast. What do you think of breakfast?
Good. I chose mine.
Yeah, everyone chose theirs. I got myself some of this.
The Flinders Ranges has a significant connection to Indigenous culture. We happened to be here during NIDOC Week, a celebration of Indigenous history through displays and activities, particularly for the kids. We've heard they're making boomerangs, so naturally we have to check.
Oh yeah, here we go. So there's a bit of barbecues going on, all sorts of, I think, Indigenous type activities going on all around here. So we're going to have a bit of a look at that, a little bit of a cultural session this morning.
So we've just gone to the little exhibition for Naidoc Week, the Indigenous exhibition. Alex, show everybody what we've made. Yeah, we made these, we actually carved them from two bits of branch. We took the bark off and we sanded it all back. And then he threw this little wooden thing at a ball, which was meant to simulate a rabbit, to sort of simulate the old way of hunting, which actually hit on the first go, which was pretty impressive. I was really impressed, Alex, well done. And now we're off to Rawnsley Station to get our permit to do a bit of driving around.
Sometimes the road less travelled requires a four-wheel drive. Today we're going to see the landscape in Low Range. A nearby resort offers self-guided tours on private land for a small fee. They provide a map, a guide and keys for the gate. The 4-hour loop gets only a few visitors per day, the perfect way to see the landscape without the crowds.
So we have just aired down 20 psi because I was told this was technical four-wheel driving, so I thought, you know what, let's go down straight to 20 psi so I don't have to worry about it later. And we're going to slowly make our way across here. So we've got a nice map, and the map, I'll actually show you the map. The map's got all the little signposts and markers of interesting things that we want to see. So Alice is the chief navigator, and so what's number one, hun?
Number one is wide riverbeds and river red gums.
Wide riverbeds and river red gums. So that's our first little milestone marker, which shouldn't be too far away. It should just be around the corner type thing.
Which way is Wilpena Pound, Alex? Yeah. How was the four-wheel driving so far this morning? Was it okay? Right. So we have maybe another loop, maybe about another hour, maybe a bit less. So, Pugilist Hill, a couple of guys in the 1930s came up here and had a fist fight. That's why it was known as Pugilist Hill. Pugilist means to fight with fists, apparently, as we've learned. So this is a mailbox. Apparently on our guide it said that there was a visitor's book in there, but you can't see it right now. Definitely no visitors in there. Bit of a nice rock pile here and a picnic table. Look at that. Looks like it's been here for a while. Come have a look, Alex. Come over here. Look, there's frost on the car. Feel that?
Oh, it's on my side too.
Yeah, interesting, huh?
It's on my side.
We just saw this coming back to the car. Look at the layer of ice on the tent, and the chairs, and the awning. Wow.
It's like snow.
First thing in the morning, we pick up the walking trail that starts right outside our door. Wilpena Pound is a natural amphitheatre surrounded by nearly impenetrable mountains. Our 7-kilometre hike will take us through one of the few access routes, or gaps, in the mountains, to a historic homestead and a lookout on the inside of the pound. They've got a boomerang and everything, and a spear, and they're looking towards the lookout. Come on, off you go. Come on, Hen. Follow Alex. Is it hard, Hannah?
No.
Is it easy?
Yeah.
Wow, okay. Is it amazing?
Look at it. Look behind you.
Wow. Very nice.
I barely can tell people coming.
We have a special treat for lunch, a booking at a somewhat famous pub called the Prairie Hotel in Parachilna. It's about an hour's drive, but we opt for the scenic route through the mountains, gorges, and dirt tracks these ranges are so famous for. It may not quite come across on camera, but the scenery is spectacular. The Prairie Hotel is about as fancy as an outback pub can get. They provide premium accommodation, brew their own beer, and serve their signature feral feast, a lunch set menu with emu, kangaroo, goat, and camel, and for the kids, something a little bit more kid-friendly. Rushing to beat the sunset, we set off to see one more point of interest. Tomorrow, we start our long trip home. Another 1,200 kilometres home now, again over a 2-day drive with a stopover in Mildura. We're leaving the outback, with the landscape turning distinctly more Victorian by the minute. Our accommodation for the next 2 nights will be a Big 4 caravan park with lots of entertainment for the kids. After 2 weeks in the car, we figure they deserve to let off some steam. That's it, now he's old enough. Last time he was sort of struggling a bit, now his legs are a bit bigger. That's it, you're nearly there. You're gonna... So should one bother with the remote outback, and what can one hope to see? Well, how about the biggest guided weapons range in the Western world, and a history that makes you see your country in a whole new light? Or how about amazing feats of engineering that pushed frontiers and helped cross a continent from over 100 years ago, done by hand? We learnt about the Great Artesian Basin, this one again the largest on the planet, that makes the desert come alive with wetlands and continues to support human exploration as it has for thousands of years. Then, You may come to a small town that supplies nearly all of the world's opal, itself with a quirky and unique story. For anyone looking to escape the ordinary, the remote desert interior provides the kind of freedom you can rarely experience elsewhere. And did I mention the sunsets? The Outback provides a rare opportunity for true adventure, pioneering spirit, and the kind of history we often forget in our carefully controlled and risk-managed world, if we just care to go out and find it.